My wife and I have been married for 7 years. We both have teen daughters. My wife's daughter has lived with her dad her entire life. My wife is an excellent mother, but her ex was moving across the country and she knew he could give her a better life than she can. 2 years later, they moved back to his home country, approximately 12 or 18 hours from us by plane. They flew my wife out to visit them a few times a year, and they sent her to visit us during her summer vacation. He got a job approximately a half hour from us, so we've had her 50-50 for the past few months. The thing is, we have a 2-bed, 1-bath house in a good neighborhood. My daughter has had her own room her entire life, and she didn't take it well when she heard she had to share. She's tried blocking my stepdaughter from their room, threw her stuff out the window, and tries to make my stepdaughter uncomfortable so she'll leave. Last week, my stepdaughter got here, sat on her bed, and almost immediately ran out coughing and covered in a rash. My wife had to use her daughter's EpiPen and call 911. We didn't have a car at home. She and her ex got into a fight at the hospital and she got kicked out, and her ex is refusing to allow stepdaughter into the house. Ex is legally able to do this because he has full custody. We have a camera to monitor the dogs, and if the bedroom door is open, you can see into the girl's room. We'd also just moved the camera and hadn't gotten around to telling my daughter yet. We decided to check the cameras and we saw my daughter bringing nuts into the room and eating them on my stepdaughter's bed before touching everything my stepdaughter owns. My stepdaughter is deathly allergic to nuts. Nuts are not allowed in the house, but you are allowed to eat them in the garage, and you have to scrub your hands before you come back in. My wife, understandably, was furious when she saw it. She stormed into the girl's room, started screaming at my daughter, and told her to get the heck out of her house. I talked my wife into letting my daughter pack a bag, and I arranged for my brother to pick her up. My wife is adamant that my daughter is no longer allowed to step foot inside her house. We filed a police report, and the plan is for her to stay in a group home or boarding school for the next couple years. Now my family and my daughter's mom are pressuring me to leave my wife so I don't have to send my daughter away, but I'm refusing to leave, and I agree with my daughter's punishment because she hurt a person and caused my wife to lose her daughter. Ex isn't letting her into this house. Now I'm being called a bad parent by everyone except my brother, who's putting her to work on his farm until we find a more permanent arrangement, for choosing my wife over my kid. Am I the idiot? Edit, my daughter's mom is not able to take care of a child. Jesus, man, what is up with your daughter? You are not the idiot. This is a hard punishment for your daughter to bear, but she did an absolutely terrible thing. She acted with intent to seriously harm your stepdaughter and essentially risked her life for this little stunt. Being a teen is young, but not too young to understand the gravity of her transgression. If your wife is to have any chance of salvaging her relationship with her daughter, she needs to demonstrate that she's acted decisively to protect her daughter from further harm in this situation. If you leave your wife, then your daughter gets at least part of what she wanted to achieve. OP, you're not choosing your wife over your kid. You're choosing to show your kid that her actions have serious consequences. If you leave your wife, then won't this little stunt basically accomplish exactly what she wanted? You might be the idiot in part for raising a child who would do this. I don't think this kind of behavior happens in a vacuum. But I fail to see how, you're right, let's make sure you do get your own room here and never have to see stepdaughter again just like you wanted, is teaching the kind of life lesson about attempted murder that you wanted to. My daughter's mom isn't able to take care of a child. Then her mom should 100% shut her mouth. The problem is the mom doesn't see this as a problem. Instead, she wants ex-hubby to leave the new wife. As for the rest of the family, they can either take your daughter in or also shut their traps. Thinking maybe you should have parented her before this turned into such a bad situation in the first place. What a mess! I have a tween daughter, Ellie. She has best friend Sophie, also tween. Both of the girls have special needs and are around 6 years old mentally. Sophie's mom called me yesterday, said that they were at an indoor playground, and Sophie wanted to know if Ellie could come and play. Sophie's mom offered to put me on her punch card. She prepays for 10 to 20 visits at a time because it's cheaper. So it would be free for me, so I got Ellie in the car and we met them at the playground. After about an hour of playing, the girls started to get hungry. I packed a snack for Ellie, but Sophie's mom didn't have any snacks on her. I told her they sell snacks in the front, but she claimed she didn't have any money on her and asked me to buy Sophie some goldfish. I said, sure, Venmo me and I'll grab some. But she said no. I told her I took care of my kid and it's not my job to take care of hers too. She says she paid for my kid to get in so I could cover the $2 for the goldfish. I told her if she wanted me to bring snacks, she should have told me when she invited me, but I won't be wasting $2 for a 50-cent bag of goldfish because she was unprepared. She went up to the front, and I don't know if she lied about not having money, but she came back with goldfish and fruit snacks. Now she's being petty by asking me to pay her back for all of the times we've used their memberships and guest passes, so we're not getting along. I'm gonna have to see her at school drop-off, pick-up, ballet class, gymnastics class, and the girls' weekly playdates, so I wanted to know if I was the idiot for not buying her kid a snack. You are the idiot. You mentioned she's paid multiple times for your daughter's entrance fees. She clearly doesn't usually ask you for money or take advantage of the friendship. Now, this strong friendship is in jeopardy because she's generous with you, but you won't return the favor in a smaller one-off ask. You wanted a transactional friendship and are going to get exactly what you asked for. Don't expect free invitations in the future and make sure to budget accordingly. Gym costs are way more than goldfish. Was saving $2 really worth it? In jeopardy? LOL, that friendship is over. Lady, the friend's mother basically paid for you and your daughter to get into the play area, and you couldn't afford $2 to buy her a snack and help pay her back for letting you in for free. Silly you couldn't take $2 to buy a snack. You need to look at your entitlement. Springing a few freaking dollars so a child wouldn't have to go hungry wouldn't have killed you. Don't worry though, you and your daughter won't be receiving any invitations for playdates anytime soon. I disagree. I wouldn't be surprised if the other woman tried to salvage it. The special needs community is much smaller than a typical friendship pool. Finding another child with similar age and mental abilities to yours, that your child also gets along with, is often hard to find. The cynic in me thinks the OP knows that and therefore also knows she can get away with far more than with other types of friendships, which makes her callous behavior that much worse, and frankly stupid. Even for her own best interests, it's stupid. You don't ostracize friends that you also need. My husband and I took some time out from his mom last year because she was interfering into my personal business that had no impact on her whatsoever. The gist of what happened is, I was contacted by some biological family members of mine, my late father's parents and two of his siblings. They'd reached out to say they regretted letting me and my younger sister go into foster care when we were 6 and 2 after our parents died. My sister passed away soon, and then I was left totally alone with no family. So having these two people reach out now that I'm 29 and haven't seen them in over 2 decades, it annoyed me. The reason for them not taking me is that I was my father's affair baby. He was married with kids when he and my mom started an affair, and his marriage to his ex-wife only came to an end when my mom was 6 months pregnant with me. The fallout meant my father was hated, understandably, but so was I, and so was my sister when she was born. I have very vague memories of his older children and none of them pleasant. My father's parents and siblings all sided with his ex-wife and the children once my parents died and decided foster care was the only place for us since we had nobody on our maternal side. My mother was a foster kid herself. I saw my grandparents and aunts and uncles at my sister's funeral, but she was buried by the state since none of them claimed her body, and I was just a child myself, so I couldn't. I had no desire to welcome them into my life or to forgive and form a relationship. My mother-in-law started making comments that I should give them a chance or I will regret it. She said, how am I ever supposed to know my siblings if I don't make the effort? My husband told her to stop. I even told her my siblings weren't part of the group who reached out, and from the limited info I heard, they have no interest in establishing anything with me, and it sounds like they feel I should have died with my sister. Mother-in-law said it didn't mean I shouldn't try, and then she wanted to know their names so she could talk to them. After her not letting up despite my husband telling her multiple times, we decided to take that break from her. Then, a little over a week ago, she showed up and told me she found them on Facebook and was waiting for them to accept a message so she could talk to them and fix things for me. I lost my temper and told her to stay out of things that don't concern her. She told me not to curse and she was trying to help. My husband was furious with his mom when he got home. They argued and then his brother got involved and basically said I should have just shut the door in her face and let my husband deal with her, like I was mean to her. So now I'm wondering if he's right and I was wrong to engage and say what I did. Am I the idiot? I can't stress this enough. Not the idiot. She kept meddling in your business and doing things against your will, which she has no right to do. And you're absolutely right to want no contact with your bio family after what they did to you and your sister. I'm very sorry for what happened to you, and your mother-in-law needs to learn to respect people's boundaries. You're absolutely right. I'm horrified that they did this to two innocent children. Hubby's brother is a flying monkey. Don't be mean to my mommy. My foot. They've been raised by someone with no boundaries, and now he's showing he can't stay out of things that aren't his business either. This. She wants a lifetime drama with a happy reunion, and she wants to be the fairy godmother-in-law who orchestrated it. It's self-serving and despicable. Your mother-in-law crossed a boundary and clearly doesn't respect your wishes. Not knowing the relationship you have with your mother-in-law, she seems to be having the boomer thought of blood is thicker than water, and family members can't be toxic and cut out of one's life. That way, this woman would never see me again if it was me. I live with my girlfriend. I've noticed she's started making plans for us but doesn't ask me. She'll just make plans and expect me to be fine with doing them. Last week we were talking about this weekend and I said how nice it was to just have a weekend off doing nothing and just relax at home, and she said, "Oh, I planned for us to go to a cafe in town." I asked why she didn't even ask me if I wanted to do it, and she just said she'd assumed I'd be fine with it. One evening last week, she just brought up in conversation that she'd been looking at holidays for February for us to go away for a week and had found a nice place to go. I pointed out she hasn't even bothered to ask me if I want to go away or asked where I'd like to go. She's just picked somewhere she wants to go and expects me to be fine with using my annual leave and paying for half of the cost of the holiday. She just said she thought I'd want to go, but I just told her that things like that need to be a discussion, not just her deciding what she wants to do and essentially spending my money for me. She got annoyed and said she thought I'd want to go. I just pointed out that looking at options is something we should be doing together after we both decided we want to go away. I mentioned that it's becoming a habit for her to just make plans, not bother asking me or even telling me, and then just expecting me to go along with it. I told her it needs to stop and that anything we plan has to actually be discussed. She accused me of having a go at her for trying to plan nice things for us, but I just pointed out she's spending my money for me essentially, and is just not even asking if it's something I want to be doing. She just repeated that I'm starting an argument for nothing just because she was trying to plan nice things. Am I the idiot for not wanting my girlfriend to make plans for me without asking me? Not the idiot. I cannot fathom how difficult it is to understand that partners make big plans together, especially when it's not her money that is getting spent. If she can't change her behavior, I would strongly suggest establishing solid boundaries on this issue. If she continues to cross those boundaries, well, then more drastic steps may be taken. Yeah, this whole "I'm just trying to plan nice things" is a cop-out. She's planning something nice for herself and expects you to go along. Perhaps you've been fairly easygoing in the past, letting her take the lead on these things, so she's gotten used to it. Either way, you deserve a voice in making plans for the two of you, and she needs to accept that. I disagree. To me, having a whole weekend to yourselves and popping out to a cafe for a couple of hours is chilling. Info: when did you last plan something for the two of you to do? Communication is important. If she can't do that, she's not the one for you. Some people like that and are okay with it, but others aren't. Set some boundaries. I get she likes to do stuff. Maybe she feels like nothing will happen if she doesn't make plans. So take point in planning some dates too. I'm a grandparent of two. They're both twins. The two kids do not get along. The youngest is autistic and will have a meltdown at the drop of a hat. I've had argument after argument with my son over the youngest. It came to a head when we got into an argument about me putting my granddaughter in timeout. I do timeout for how old they are, and if they leave the timeout chair, the time restarts. It took the youngest almost an hour to get through a timeout. This resulted in a huge argument where I can't punish her anymore. Personally, I don't see them parenting her and let her meltdowns happen. She's in the normal classes at school, she can understand things. It just might take longer. The main issue: my oldest grandkid was ranting about their sibling, and I offered them to go on a small day trip. Contacted the parents that I want to do this with my oldest. They were mad when I don't want to take the youngest, but I also made it clear it was bonding time with the oldest. We had a great time and I bought him a few things, like a new hoodie and some candy. I got into another argument since they're upset that I bought him stuff, that the youngest has been sad since that I won't take her out. Am I the idiot? Edit: I put her in timeout and my son and daughter-in-law flipped when I explained it. I apparently was too cruel.